Welcome back to the Truth Over Comfort show. On our last video, we discussed two bills in the US Senate on the same weekend, maybe even the same day, where there was two articles in the Hill on the 19th of May in 2022. One was a $40 billion aid package to Ukraine with obviously military equipment, and another was $48 billion for restaurants and local businesses who obviously had their business destroyed by government lockdowns. The US passed one but didn't pass the other. I wonder which one it was. Yeah, the $40 billion bill to Ukraine to keep the proxy war going. Whether you think, oh no, it's not a proxy war, they just want to help the Ukrainians. It doesn't matter. They chose the Ukrainians over their own citizens, who obviously the cause of their businesses downfall and destruction was a government policy. Whether you agree with lockdowns or not, it was a government policy, and those people, paid the price. And whether you think all the Ukrainian people need the help in the world, it's a perfect illustration that US chose, the military route in Ukraine against Russia rather than its own citizens. The UK being fairly similar, not anywhere near on the scale of America, but we've given 3.8 billion. Boris Johnson giving another billion, pledging another billion in June, and that brings our total up to 3.8 billion, almost 4. And the last billion was just pure military equipment. We have a cost of living crisis, as America, the West, Europe, everywhere, but obviously the sanctions haven't helped, and lockdowns. We're in a recession and the economy isn't in a good place. But we chose to again fund this proxy war instead of helping our own people, trying to curb issues like the petrol prices and just, simple stuff like that. But the priorities were there, which leads us into the topic today. Both of the things we're discussing come from articles in Declassified UK, who I featured before when I did a video about, how intertwined oil companies and the British establishment, intelligence, military, ministers, all are coming and going. The last three heads of MI6 going to an oil company after, one of them going to BP, government councils that have advisory boards from people from BP and Shell, who went to then work on the government, just swarming around the revolving door. It's all like the US and arms. I'm sure they have it for oil, and I'm sure we have it for arms too. Some of them doing a bit of both. But, all we hear at the moment is rhetoric about Russia and China. Liz Truss, who is the focus on today, basically, and obviously prime ministership. So both on her and Richie Sunak have made a point of saying Russia and China are the biggest threats to us, constantly condemning them for, their domestic policies and obviously, the military action. In Ukraine, Liz Truss, we played a video the other day of her doing just exactly that, and then not condemning Saudi Arabia, because obviously they love to buy our arms and have for many years, which is the focus today. All you hear is Russia, China, They're the biggest national security threat. Richie Sunak put on his Twitter his outline plan to step up against the biggest national security threat, which is China. They're obviously playing to the military intelligence establishment, the arms companies, that they're on board with this agenda, obviously. And if Russia and China are this massive threat, national security threat, whatever that means, what have they actually done to threaten? What has China done to threaten? When's the last time it invaded a country? What plans do they have to, pull up on our shores and just take over our little island? I'm not really sure. They never really seem to give actual examples. They just say they're authoritarian, they can't be trusted, communist dictatorship, wherever it may be. But, so Liz Truss was Trade Secretary from, let's have a look. I want to say up until now, she's in the Foreign Offices. But she is the one who authorizes arms, and of course she should be infamous for basically the arms sales to Saudi Arabia were temporarily paused, and there was an arms embargo because there was, it was basically a court rule that it was unlawful to sell it because we didn't have, enough things into place to check what was going on. And then after, a certain amount of time, we're like, it's all good. And she, in 2020, resumed sales to Saudi Arabia. When was she Trade Secretary? Secretary of Trade for International Trade, 2019 to 2021. So while she was Trade Secretary, she authorized equipment to Russia and China. And we'll start with China. So both these articles are from Declassified UK. I'm not really going to go through them much. It's just, I'm not going to promote them because they're definitely worth a read. And Declassified UK is worth a follow if you like British foreign policy, economic, royal family sort of stuff. That's not nonsense. And they link up all their stuff, as I will today. Everything does go in the show notes, and you can check it out and make your own mind up. But everything we're going to be going through today is British government documents. So I think I will start with just China. So as I said before, Richie Sunak you can go on his Twitter, a whole thread about his plan, because China's our biggest national security threat, or maybe just our biggest economic threat, or not us, the US, the West, and all that fun. But we've still been selling them arms, and see, they talk about how while British ministers claim China is an increasing threat to UK interests, they have approved the sale of 2.6 billion worth of military and dual civilian military equipment to the country in the past 3 years. I'm not gonna show you the full 2.6 billion because these like the one of the documents I'm going to show you, 396 pages. I'm still getting a grips of how to actually find everything. Some of the stuff I couldn't find, but one of the things we actually sold them was we sold them stuff for viruses. And there's dual civilian military equipment, which means it can be used for a civilian purpose or military. As for Russia, we have had an arms embargo on them since 2014. So remember, they took the Crimea in 2014. There was the alleged Salisbury poisonings in the UK in like 2018, I want to say, Theresa May. And we've still been selling them dual use stuff. So we couldn't sell them purely military stuff, however we have to China. But we've been selling dual use stuff for civilian and military equipment. Actually, I'm going to start with Russia because it just makes more sense of recent events. So again, I'm not going to show you the full thing, but they've sold hundreds of millions to Russia. So Truss approved 149 million of controlled equipment to Russia in just 6 months in 2021, months before the invasion of Ukraine. The year before the invasion, Truss departments approved the export of controlled viruses for use by Russian researchers. Russia was granted the 7th highest number of UK exports licenses in the world in 2020. UK government only banned exports of all controlled equipment to Russia after the invasion. So Boris Johnson made a little, I don't think this is, but it's like in honor of what he'd say. So following Russian invasion of Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson now plans to ban the export of all dual-use items to Russia. Dual-use items are goods which can be used for both military and civil purposes such as electronics, lasers, or chemicals. Russia is already subject to an arms embargo which was imposed by the EU following its annexation of Crimea in 2014. So what's interesting about this is, one, it shines a light. Well, no, not many people are going to find this. I wouldn't have found out this story if it wasn't Declassified UK. The fact that all that stuff's happened since 2014, and you got to think about all the propaganda, real, some of it maybe, real. I'm not an expert on Russia, but I'm sure their government and domestic policies aren't all meadows and daisy fields. But all that stuff we've been saying since 2014, especially the US, like just hates them, just constantly, tension and everywhere. But we've been selling them dual use stuff, so it can be used for civilian or military. But all we hear is Putin's the next Hitler. Putin's this, Putin's that. He's insane. He's lost it. He's cancelled everything you can say under the sun, and we're selling them dual use stuff which can be used for military. So we're like, oh, we can't sell them pure military, but we can do this dual use thing, which is kind of like a loophole where there's still military stuff can be sold. And we're like, this guy's the next Hitler. Well, Hitler would have loved to release a virus on the Jews, and we've sold viruses to Russia for Russian researchers. Sure, legit, probably could be, probably is. But if he's the next Hitler and he's lost his mind, he's insane, and all this stuff, he has nothing to lose, he's going to nuke us. Why would we take his word that they're using it for civilian purpose and they aren't going to use those viruses for something else? Salisbury poisonings, virus. It's not, not too much of a step, is it? But apparently, no, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's dual use. It's for Russia. Putin, the boy, he said this is for the researchers. The government said it's for researchers, and we just take their word for it. But then on the other side, everything they say is a lie. They're just propaganda. You can't trust them. They're horrible regimes, China and Russia, because both viruses were sold to both, which I'll show you in the document soon. So, which is it? We always have these Russia's awful. They did this in 2014, but then we've sold them all this stuff all the way up to the invasion, and then it's like that just shows you like a politician like Liz Truss. She's wants to be prime minister, and Rishi Sunak. Politicians go where the wind blows. The wind blows. We're going to condemn Russia, but we're still going to sell them stuff all the way up till we can, and then suddenly we can't, and all you do is condemn them. But you was also the person authorizing exports going to that same regime that you was probably condemning a bit before, but now even more. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? So until the invasion, they was good? No, because they took Crimea in 2014. That's why we put these sanctions on them. Couldn't sell this. It's ridiculous that we're selling them viruses, but because it's dual use, it's civilian. It's in the contract. They don't even have to use it. It's not even the contract that they have to use it, but it's civilian. They can use it for military. But don't worry, take their word for it on this. For that, no. So Russia was granted the 7th highest number of UK export license in the world. 2020. A lot of countries. And apparently, 2 of our enemies were in the top 7 for receiving it. Interesting. So there's government website, strategic export controls commentary, 1st of October to 31st December 2020. So this came out April 2022. So we have a few nice charts here, and of course you're going to see China there, and we will get to them. Or maybe I'll jump between the two, I'm not sure. So in 2020, China was the end user's destination with the highest number of licenses granted for exportation of strategic goods under permanent standard SCLs, with 966 licenses. The US and India also topped 500. So I think what these licenses mean, that there's not like an agreed amount fee. It's just an open-end license. You can just keep sending them stuff and agree the fee each time you sell it. And here's a little map, and China obviously received the most. So here is China at the top, the US, India, South Korea, UAE, Turkey, Russia, Taiwan. So most of those you'd expect. US, India, South Korea, UAE, Turkey, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Singapore. A lot of allies, NATO, and Middle Eastern. So China's top. So that's interesting. We go back should we just probably makes more sense. I'm going to jump between the two because it's the same argument really. China's a bit different because we sold them a lot more, and we've sold them direct military equipment too. But at the moment they come as a pair, really, don't they, of condemnation. So, but although China did receive the most licenses, it did not make us the most money, if that matters. And the more money it costs, the more lethal it's probably going to be. And Saudi Arabia probably didn't receive as much there because there was an arms embargo temporarily during this time. So in 2020, the US was the end user destination with the highest value of licenses granted. So they made £14.5 billion worth of goods. The next users with the highest value were South Korea, 1.7 billion, and China, 1.6 billion. So in the other article, they obviously say 2.6. I'm not, gonna. It's really hard in these documents to find some stuff. So I'm just gonna leave that because 1.6 billion. It doesn't matter. 2.6 billion is obviously nuts too. But this was just for this year. 1 year, 1.6 billion. They're doing it over the last 3 years, and imagine what it is for the last decade. 1.6 billion with a B, not an M. It's a lot of money. So as you can see, Russia didn't actually make it onto this one. They were seventh on the other, so they received the most stuff, but not worth the most money. But China, third, they received the most, and they're third for value, which is pretty incredible. So they've both sold viruses. They've both sold dual use, and China was sold actually military tech, which I'll show you now. Okay, so let's try. This is a document, 396 pages, and this is all just about the exports going to different countries and what it was. So this is page 78. So military, we sold 18 licenses, non-military 291, and total 300. This isn't obviously all of them because they said there was 966, and obviously there's some value money there, how much it was worth. So I think that's 623 million. So there's almost 1.2 billion, I think, just there, because I think it's 9 zeros and then another one is billion, if I'm not incorrect. So some of the stuff we sold. So China's our biggest national security threat. Interesting. But we're going to sell them some military stuff. We just want to help out China because although they're apparently going to invade us, they're going to do all this horrible stuff, even though they haven't invaded obviously anyone for years. We are just going to sell them some stuff anyway. We're going to help them when they do invade. Don't worry, they have British. They have the best equipment. Great. At least when you're getting killed, it has a British name on it because that's just great. It's a full circle. Full circle. He was given life in Britain through person living in Britain, and you died from a British technology. That's just fantastic. So components for military guidance, navigation equipment, components for military helicopters, components for military image intensifier, munitions, components for submarines. We just want to help their naval force sneak up on us better. We don't want to see, our biggest national security threat coming. So we thought we'd sell them some submarine stuff so we don't see them until, they're there because they're right at the bottom of the sea. And without those parts, those submarines wouldn't have been as effective. That's just fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, that's great marketing. Hey, British biggest two enemies. Want to improve your equipment when you invade us? Don't look any further. Don't buy it from your allies and our enemies. Buy it from your enemies. Cool. Makes sense. And they're just like ballistic test equipment, explosives, combat aircraft. We want to help their air force. We want it to be like the SAS, and our air force was just fantastic. We've got so much we can teach them. Back in the days where we invaded China because they wouldn't sell us any tea because we didn't have, unless we gave them gold. So we forced opium on them, and there was 2 opium wars. Well, some of the old tricks we used in our naval. Well, let's pass some of that knowledge on, and we're going to help you come to the first world as well with aircraft. Great. And late night sights again. Submarines, don't want to see them coming. We want to make sure they can shoot us in the dark because that's what we want for our enemies. Obviously joking around a bit here. Well, yeah, kind of joking, but there you go. So there's loads of, this is like the dual use non-military stuff here. So viruses, which they could be using in the old Wuhan lab, testing some stuff out as a researcher, or they could be, if they want to use it for military, and we can't trust anything they say, and they're horrible. That damn CCP party, the old communists, they're probably using those dastardly viruses to put it on our population and take us out. That's what they could be doing. But no, it's dual use, dual use. Oh, it's probably civilian, and we trust them. We trust them. Just like we actually did take everything they said about the COVID situation, the pandemic, which was interesting considering they're our biggest enemy. We don't believe anything they're saying, except sometimes. Right. Similar thing with Russia, except let's just see. Let's go to number 24. So this is page 286 and 7. And this is again non-military, and this isn't everything, but there you go, viruses. And a lot of it here does generally seem like it's for civilian use, like a lot of it. And there's oil and gas industry, BP was obviously there, and Shell and all the oil companies. But there's lots of stuff here, and I really wish I could find it, and I really wish he put it in the article of what page this stuff is. So at the start, he says, Trust Department approved numerous licenses for controlled viruses for use by Russian medical researchers, as well as large numbers of licenses for cyber defense. Couldn't find the stuff about cyber defense, which is kind of annoying, unless it means it isn't actually the word cyber defense. It's just different electronic stuff here. Maybe I'm not sure, but say let's take his word for it, because it's all linked to government websites, and there's be stupid for him to lie, and everything else is linked correctly. So obviously go check it yourselves. Hopefully I can find it and put it in the show notes after, but let's just take his word for it for this. So again, all we hear from about Russia is that they are the experts on what? Cyber attacks. All we ever hear is, you hear the word cyber attack, Russian government, start of the Ukraine war. We expect a lot of cyber attacks on Ukraine and ourselves. So they're great at cyber attacks apparently, but do you know our enemy isn't maybe as good enough as us at? Is cyber defense. Because we have great cyber defense because the old Russians are so good at attack. But we feel it's a bit unfair. We want to level the playfield. So we're going to sell them cyber defense equipment. So they're not only great attacking, they've got that defense sorted. You can't just have a great attack in sport or cyber attacks. You need a strong defense. So when you cyber attack someone and they do it straight back at you, you go, oh, if we do it now, then it's just going to destroy everything. Why would we want to take down the cyber and electronic grid and our enemy's country, who's our biggest threat? And we love preemptively striking in the West, as we did in Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, and pretty much everywhere ever since World War II or before. No, since World War II. So yeah, we decided we were going to sell some cyber defense stuff. Liz, trusty girl, signed off cyber defense, and then a year later, I'm going to condemn them. Probably say they're going to do some cyber attacks. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just nonsense. It's a shame I couldn't find it, because I like to back up everything I'm saying. Let's call it hypothetical. But yeah, they're selling viruses to their two biggest enemies. They're selling military equipment, 1.6 billion worth in just 2020. All on that government page. I'll put it all in the show notes. It's just bizarro world. Like it just shows politicians they do whatever the policy is. The policy is we need to obviously make as much money in the Department of Trade and sell arms and encourage it around the world, as we do in the Middle East a lot. So we're going to keep selling arms to Russia until the second they invade, until they one step, then we're going to take it away. But then, what about a strange question of why was we carrying on between when they did all this horrible stuff? And China, we're just gonna keep selling them stuff until they invade something, until we're selling them more stuff than Taiwan, who, there's a lot of stuff going on there, Nancy Pelosi, and we sell Taiwan arms, and they're going to be, an ally against China. And we're selling their, Taiwan's like the size of that, and China's huge. But we want to give China even more of an advantage over them because we're just so confident they can hold out and we can win. Yeah, we're just gonna give their enemy more our enemy. We just love selling stuff to our enemies. It's just stupid. It's like a boxer who needs to win. Like it's a fight to the death in their boxing. So, oh, hang on. We're not in the same weight class. I'm gonna, sell you some gym equipment. Just hit the gym, and then once you're big and maybe even bigger, come back and then we'll fight. And I'm gonna risk, the biggest risk of my life is him killing me in the boxing ring. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sell him some more stuff. I'm gonna help him get bigger. It makes no sense. It's funny. It's actually funny in a crazy way. It either shows how hollow statements of them actually being a national security threat is, because there's no way I don't think the British government was selling the Nazis stuff like that, or well, maybe they was selling in the 30s. There was probably not, probably definitely not. You're definitely not before World War II. But I don't want to keep going around in circles, so I think I'll leave it there. I encourage you to go read both articles from Declassified UK, the British independent media group. They're great. I recommend Mark Curtis's books, who wrote this article about the China one, and Matt Kennard on the Russia one, who just did an interview with Alvo Morales, the Bolivian president who was couped in 2019, and obviously he's back now, which is interesting. And Matt Kennard just written a book which should be coming out soon about the corporate takeover of the world, of the West, US, UK probably, which I look forward to reading, because corporate interests, normally do follow the foreign policy. Foreign policy is inspired by corporate interests overseas, and they love just selling arms into enemies. So I'll leave it there. Check out all the links in the show notes. Obviously, everything we went through there was government documents, and you can't really dispute that. The only question mark was over the cyber thing. If anyone is actually watching this or watches it in 5 years when my name is maybe known by one person, then I would be grateful for someone to comment if they know what page it's on, or if I'm just being blind and it is some of that electrical equipment which is classed as cyber defense. I'm not sure. But thanks for listening to the Truth Over Comfort show, and I'll see you next time.